Have you ever stopped to think about how much of your time and energy is spent seeking the approval of others? Whether it's on social media, at work, or even in personal relationships, the need for external validation can trap us in a constant cycle of anxiety and frustration. But what if there was a way to live more freely, detached from others' opinions and focused on what truly matters? In this video, we'll explore the wisdom of Stoic philosophy and how its teachings on acceptance, impermanence, and detachment can help us find inner peace and true emotional freedom. 1. The problem of seeking external validation. The search for external validation is a phenomenon that affects most people, to varying degrees. This need to be accepted, appreciated, or approved by others has deep roots in our evolution as a species. Historically, being accepted by the tribe or social group was crucial for survival. However, in the modern world, this quest for acceptance has taken on new dimensions and often manifests in harmful ways. Today, we are constantly exposed to external judgments, whether through everyday social interactions or, more significantly, through social media. Digital platforms have created an environment where every action, thought, or image can be instantly evaluated. Likes, comments, and shares serve as a thermometer to measure someone's social value, creating a strong psychological dependency on others' approval. This dynamic fosters an obsession with validation and promotes a mentality of constant comparison. Psychological and emotional consequences. This cycle of incessant pursuit of external acceptance can lead to a range of negative consequences. When we place our personal worth in the hands of others, we open the door to deep insecurities, anxieties, and low self-esteem. We become vulnerable to external opinions, which leads us to shape our actions, behaviors, and even thoughts to please others. This can create a sense of emptiness and disconnection from our true selves, as we constantly try to meet external expectations, often unrealistic ones. For instance, a person may feel pressure to conform to certain standards of beauty, professional success, or social behavior to feel accepted. Social media amplifies this pressure by displaying edited and idealized versions of people's lives, leading many to believe they are constantly falling short of expected standards. This illusion of perfection feeds the fear of rejection, causing many to become prisoners of public opinion. The fragility of external validation. Another important point is the unstable and volatile nature of external validation. People's opinions are inconsistent and subject to unpredictable changes. A behavior or choice that may be praised at one moment can be criticized at another. Depending on others' perspectives, a person may be constantly praised or put down, creating an emotional roller coaster. This constant dependency on approval can cause someone to lose their authenticity, adopting stances and making decisions based on the expectation of what others will think or say. By placing our worth and well-being in the hands of others, we become slaves to a force we cannot control. As Epictetus emphasized, we are only truly free when we manage to control ourselves, meaning our self-esteem and happiness are not held hostage by others' reactions and judgments. The illusion of control over others' opinions. We often fall into the trap of believing that we can control how others perceive us by shaping our outward image and behavior to please them. However, the reality is that we never have full control over others' opinions and perceptions. Each individual sees the world and the people around them through their own lenses, influenced by personal experiences, values, and biases. The effort to try to please everyone is a lost battle, as there will always be differences of opinion. This search for control over how we are perceived creates a vicious cycle. The more we try to please, the further we drift from who we truly are, and the more we feed this emotional dependency. In trying to fit an external ideal, we end up distancing ourselves from our true essence and personal values. Over time, this behavior can generate an identity crisis, where the person wonders, who am I beyond the expectations of others? Impact on authenticity. When we are constantly concerned about how we will be evaluated, we begin to act in ways that distance us from our authenticity. This affects not only our emotional well-being but also our relationships. The pursuit of external validation can create a disconnect between who we really are and how we present ourselves to the world, which, in the long run, undermines the depth and sincerity of our interactions with others. This disconnection can be subtle at first, like small adjustments in behavior to fit into a social group, but over time this self-censorship can intensify, leading to a loss of identity. The result is a constant state of alertness, where the person is always monitoring their actions and words, trying to predict how they will be received. Final reflection on point 1. The search for external validation is not just a natural reaction but also a harmful cycle that fuels anxiety and disconnects us from our true selves. When we rely on others to measure our worth, we end up distancing ourselves from what really matters: our authenticity, values, and inner well-being. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes a powerful tool, teaching us to focus on what is within our control, our actions and reactions, rather than being swayed by what is beyond our reach, such as others' opinions. 2. Control over our reactions. The second essential point to understand the Stoic approach to the pursuit of external validation is the concept of control, specifically the control we have over our own reactions and perceptions. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that, while we cannot control what happens around us, we have complete power over how we react to these events. This distinction is fundamental to achieving a more balanced and peaceful life. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus expressed this clearly when he said, "It is not the events themselves that disturb us, but the opinions we have about them." From this premise, Stoics believe that what truly matters are not external judgments or circumstances, but how we interpret and react to them. This puts us in a position of internal power, allowing us to focus on what is within our control, rather than attempting to control the uncontrollable, namely the opinions and actions of others. The distinction between what we can and cannot control. The key to understanding this idea lies in the clear distinction between what we can control and what is beyond our control. Epictetus teaches that only our own thoughts, decisions, actions, and reactions are truly within our domain. What others think of us, their attitudes, external circumstances, other people's behavior, all of these are outside of our control. When we seek to control these external factors, we inevitably become frustrated and suffer because we are trying to influence something that is not in our hands. On the other hand, when we recognize and accept this reality, we can redirect our energy toward what lies within our sphere of action, our choices and reactions. This is the crucial point Stoics advocate. Instead of worrying about how we will be judged or whether we will receive external validation, we should focus on how we choose to respond to these situations. This internal power becomes a true shield against the influence of others' opinions. The psychological impact of focusing on internal control. When we begin to focus on controlling our own reactions, something significant happens. We become more emotionally resilient. The practice of distinguishing between what is under our control and what is not helps reduce anxiety and stress. After all, much of our emotional distress comes from trying to control things over which we have no power. By accepting that the only thing we can truly govern is our attitude, we begin to feel a sense of relief. For example, imagine someone harshly criticizes your work or personality. If your focus is on the need for external acceptance and approval, this criticism may trigger an intense emotional response, such as anger, sadness, or a sense of failure. However, if you apply Stoic principles, you understand that you cannot control the other person's opinion, but you can control your reaction to it. In this context, you can choose to respond constructively, using the criticism as an opportunity for growth or simply deciding that this opinion does not affect your personal worth. This shift in perspective generates a strong internal confidence, where your emotional well-being is no longer at the mercy of others' fluctuating opinions. This kind of emotional resilience is one of the greatest benefits of adopting a Stoic view of control. The nature of emotions and Stoic philosophy. The Stoics do not suggest that we should completely eliminate emotions or become insensitive. On the contrary, they acknowledge that emotions are part of the human experience but argue that we must learn to manage them wisely. This involves understanding that emotions are often automatic reactions to interpretations we make of events. If we change our interpretations, that is, if we change how we perceive situations, we can also change our emotional responses. For example, if someone does not receive the approval they so desire in a job or relationship, they may interpret this as a sign of failure or inadequacy. This interpretation generates feelings of frustration, sadness, or even anger. However, if we apply Stoic philosophy, we can reinterpret the situation. This person or group has their own perspective, but that does not define my worth. What truly matters is my own perception of myself and the effort I put in. By changing this perception, the emotion that arises also changes. External rejection ceases to be an emotional catastrophe and transforms into a neutral experience or even an opportunity for learning. The true key lies in remembering that, although emotions can be automatic, our conscious response to them can be trained and shaped. The role of reflection and mental training. To achieve this level of control over our reactions, it requires a continuous process of reflection and mental training. The Stoics strongly believed in the power of daily reflection, where they would analyze their own behavior and reactions. This practice involves questioning our own interpretations and evaluating whether we are reacting based on what is within our control or whether we are being carried away by external factors. A practical exercise proposed by the Stoics is the use of internal dialogue, a practice of talking to oneself in a rational manner, weighing whether the concerns or emotions we are feeling are related to something we can control or not. Over time, this mental training helps us strengthen our ability to control our reactions and become less vulnerable to others' judgments. Final reflection on point 2. Control over our reactions is a powerful skill that can free us from the negative influence of external validation. When we understand that we can only control our attitude in response to events, not the events themselves, we begin to experience greater serenity and emotional autonomy. Instead of being guided by the fluctuations of public opinion, we focus our energies on becoming the best version of ourselves, free from the constant need for external approval. 3. Acceptance of impermanence and detachment. In the third point of Stoic philosophy regarding the pursuit of external validation, we find the principle of accepting impermanence and practicing detachment. This concept is essential for cultivating a mindset that is not tied to judgments, opinions, or status, allowing us to live with more tranquility and resilience. The Stoics taught that everything external to us is temporary, changeable, and therefore should not be the basis for our value or happiness. By accepting the transient nature of life, we can detach ourselves from the need for constant recognition and the pursuit of others' approval. The transitory nature of all things. Stoic philosophy constantly reminds us that nothing is permanent. People, events, material possessions, and, above all, opinions. Public opinion, validation, and the status we so often seek are unstable by nature. They change over time with circumstances and with other people's perceptions. Therefore, placing our self-esteem or happiness in the hands of others' opinions is a dangerous exercise, as it makes us vulnerable to the unpredictable fluctuations of life. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, frequently addressed impermanence as an inescapable reality. He taught that we must prepare for the fact that everything we have and know is subject to change, loss, and transformation. By accepting this, we find a form of freedom because we stop investing our emotional well-being in things we cannot control. Instead, we focus on what is lasting, our character, our virtues, and our ability to respond sensibly and serenely to life's challenges. Detachment as freedom from external judgment. When we speak of detachment in Stoic philosophy, we are not suggesting indifference or emotional coldness. Stoic detachment is the practice of not allowing ourselves to be consumed or enslaved by the desire to control what is beyond our reach. This includes the need for others' approval and validation. Detachment involves recognizing that, although others' opinions may affect us temporarily, they do not define our value or identity. Often we get stuck in a cycle of constantly seeking others' approval because we fear rejection or criticism. This cycle places us in a state of emotional vulnerability, where our happiness depends on external factors. The Stoics believed that this type of dependence is an illusion, and by practicing detachment, we can break free from this chain. Practicing detachment is an active process of reminding ourselves that external judgment is fleeting and subjective. Just as people change their opinions, life circumstances also change. What is considered good or bad by someone at one moment may be evaluated differently in the future. Therefore, the best strategy is not to cling to these external evaluations but instead focus on maintaining a balanced mind and a steady heart. The finiteness of life and the importance of the present. Another crucial point addressed by the Stoics regarding impermanence is the notion that life is finite. Marcus Aurelius, in his writings, frequently reflected on the brevity of life, reminding himself that we are all here for a limited time. For him, this awareness was not a source of fear but a way to emphasize the importance of living according to our values in the present, without being consumed by anxiety over what others think of us. When we understand that our lives have an expiration date, the desire for external validation begins to lose its weight. We realize that, in the grand scheme of things, the fleeting opinions of others matter very little. What truly has value is how we choose to live, the decisions we make, and the positive impact we leave on the world. This focus on the present and what is truly under our control helps us develop a resilient and unshakable mind. Accepting the finitude of life also encourages us to live authentically, free from the chains of external validation. If everything is impermanent, then why should we spend our short existence trying to please others or worrying about their opinions? The Stoic believes that by embracing this reality, we can live more lightly, without carrying the burden of others' approval. Emotional freedom through detachment. The result of detachment from the pursuit of external validation is profound emotional freedom. When we are no longer tied to what others think, we are free to focus on what truly matters: our inner development, our virtues, and our ability to act justly and wisely. This emotional freedom allows us to handle criticism more constructively and see approval as something pleasant but not essential. The Stoics believed that this emotional freedom is one of the pillars of a fulfilling life. By detaching ourselves from external expectations, we become less reactive to criticism and less dependent on praise. This serenity enables us to navigate life's inevitable fluctuations with a sense of balance and inner peace. It is a way to emotionally shield ourselves from the highs and lows of public opinion, allowing our self-esteem to be defined by our own honest evaluation of our actions and intentions. Stoic exercises of detachment and acceptance. Practicing Stoic detachment can be done in several ways. One of them is the exercise of negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum, in which we deliberately and calmly visualize the possibility of losing something we value, whether it be a material possession, social status, or even someone's approval. By doing this, we train our minds to better handle impermanence and gradually detach ourselves from everything we cannot control. Another Stoic exercise is the daily practice of gratitude for the present, recognizing the fragility and transience of life, but without being consumed by it. This exercise helps us appreciate the current moment and focus on who we are, rather than worrying about how others perceive us. Final reflection on point 3. Acceptance of impermanence and detachment from external validation are fundamental practices for finding true inner peace. By understanding that everything external to us is subject to change and by accepting that real control resides only in our actions and attitudes, we free ourselves from the need for constant approval. This detachment gives us the emotional strength to live authentically and balanced, focusing on what is permanent, our virtue and character. Accepting life's impermanence and letting go of the need for external validation is not easy, but it is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. When you stop worrying about what others think, you begin to live more authentically, focused on what really matters: your actions, your character, and your personal growth. If you enjoyed these reflections and want to learn more about how Stoics can transform your worldview, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's embark on this journey of self-knowledge and evolution together.